Hi guys, Nathan Middle Down Under here, back for another weekend update. Now this update's going to be all thrash metal, 2 CDs and 5 or 6 vinyl to show. So hope everybody out there is doing well, and I'll crack on to this. Some of the stuff I've had for a long time, over a year, a few of them. But yeah, let's get on with it. I'll start off with the 2 CDs first, both by the same band. I was missing these two from their catalogue. I'm still missing the album Into the Pit, but I think that's the only one, and that band of course is Ultimatum, featuring the VC's very own Scott Waters. Really good thrash metal from the States. This one is Perilous Time, the Mechanics of Perilous Times. This one came out in 2000. Yeah, really good thrash, featuring Scott Waters on vocals. Was completely unaware of this band until I started watching vinyl community videos when Scott Waters started, and yeah, been picking up their stuff slowly. But as I said, just missing Into the Pit now. I actually have one of the albums that Scott sent me, which was signed, which is awesome. But yeah, great stuff. There's the inside. Yeah, but very surprised to find them here in New Zealand. And then we have the picture there of the band, and of course we have Mr. Scott Waters down there. Great vocalist, more on the harsh side of thrash metal vocals, but really good. And then we have the lyrics, which are pretty small, but you expect to get small lyrics in a CD version. But yeah, very happy to have that one now. I'm not even sure what label this came out on, to be fair. There's nothing on the back. But yep, so that's Mechanics of Perilous Times. And the other one I picked up was Ultimatum, of course, and Puppets of Destruction, which came out in 1998. So this is actually the earlier of the two. There's the back there. Of course, I've heard these albums many times over the last few years, but just didn't know them. And so we have lyrics, a few pictures, and then we have the band there featuring the mighty Scott Waters. So yeah, very happy to have these. I've been playing them in the car recently. Wife gets a little bit annoyed, but my car, so she has to put up with it. But yeah, good stuff. Puppets of Destruction by Ultimatum. So that's the 2 CDs. Now let's get on to the vinyl. Now this is another band, been around since the 80s, and until maybe 5 years ago, never even heard of them. I used to collect a magazine from Australia called Hot Metal, and I don't recall ever seeing this band represented in that magazine at all. But this is the second album from Exhorder, The Law. The first album I still don't own, and I've forgotten the name of it off the top of my head, but that's a great album too. But this is actually my favourite of the two, which might surprise some people out there. Something at the Vatican, yeah, Slaughter at the Vatican, I think it's called. Also have the album they put out in 2019, 2020, which is absolutely fantastic album. Comes with one of these horrible, sorry about the noise. This is a reissue, of course, that came out last year, I'm going to say. Had this one since then. Yep, The Law. Back there, the band. This originally came out in 1992 on Roadrunner. I'm not sure how many of these were pressed, but this is number 335. And came with lyrics and thank yous. But yeah, because of the VC, I've discovered this band, and yeah, really happy to have this. I probably wouldn't, to this day, still wouldn't even know about them, even though we've got YouTube and all that. They probably would never come up in my feed. A nice glossy cover. It's great that they're reissuing some of these 90s and late 80s albums, and this one came out on your grey, silvery wax on Roadrunner. Yep, so that's that one. Yeah, of course it came out on music on vinyl, which is fantastic. It actually says here, limited edition of 1,500 individually numbered copies on silver coloured vinyl. So yeah, they always do good pressings and putting out some great albums. Next one. Now, I've definitely known this band for a very long time, since the late 80s. Big fan from way back then. This album always eluded me. Been a grail, never owned this on any format. My favourite album from this band, the album I discovered this band from, and I said this is a grail, and unfortunately I can't get an OG of it, which doesn't matter, the reissue suits me fine because it's still the same music, and you see some of the OGs out there, and because it's got a black cover, it's quite beat up and worn with the old ring. But yeah, that is Nuclear Assault. Hard handled with care. Had this album for about a year now. Played it to death, just haven't got around to showing it in a video. My favourite album, hands down. A lot of people like Survive the most, but there's something about this album that just I found phenomenal. First song I ever heard was Critical Mass, and yeah, fell in love with them after that. Originally came out in 1989. Of course, you had Dan Lilliker on bass, formerly of Anthrax. But yeah, great stuff. There's the guys there on the back. Came with a little bit of a split in there, but just the inner. And of course, you have your typical thrash collage there to look at, and then you have lyrics on that side. So yeah, very happy to tick this off the Grail list. I was very surprised to find it. Actually found it here in New Zealand, which was very surprised. And it came out just on your black wax with the label there. So yeah, very happy to own a physical copy of this. To this day, I still don't own much Nuclear Assault at all. You just don't see it over here, and you try and buy it from overseas. I've bid on Survive a few times, the OG, but missed out every single time. So I've sort of like given up on getting a copy of Survive, but very happy to have handled with care. Not the greatest cover in the world, but very iconic to me. Next one, most definitely my favourite Australian thrash band, probably my favourite Australian band of all time in general, and this is the reissue of, sorry about the glare, Mortal Sin, Mayhemic Destruction, with the better cover in my opinion, although this reissue is very dark compared to the original. Saw a video that BVD put up and he showed a comparison of the two, and it's light and day between this has been lighter, but it's such an awesome photo with the devil, or whatever it is, on top of the Sydney Opera House. Yeah, these got reissued last year, end of last year, but I actually don't need to pick up Face of Despair because Brendan sent me an OG copy, which was awesome. I went to Australia a few years back and I went out searching for Mortal Sin because you don't find any in New Zealand, even though it's just across the ditch. But even in Australia, I couldn't find anything Mortal Sin. But Brendan always on the lookout for me, and he found Face of Despair. He seems to be very lucky in picking up their stuff. He also has a copy picked up fairly recently with the alternate cover. This album came out in 1987. Of course, this is their debut. There's the back there with the lads, and we have it all thick inner with liner notes, and it's memorabilia over the years from Kerrang magazine, Metal Forces, which I think was a videotape, and you have lyrics. And here's might not be able to see very well, but here's the two covers that I much prefer. This one, I just wish we've done a little bit of a better job with the colouring of it. It is very, very dark, as Brendan said, but really, really cool. And you've got your skeletons and stuff down the bottom. So very, very happy that they reissued these. I pre-ordered them, but they kept on getting delayed. But it finally came out at the end. It came on this really, really cool, sort of like burgundy vinyl. Don't think it's 100. It's definitely not 180 grams. I don't think. It came with a little bit of a warp in it, but it plays fine. I'm getting used to the warps now. Basically, every single album I have coming these days from overseas has warps in it. Generally not too bad. There's been a few that have been unplayable, which is a shame. But as I said, it's only on the new releases. Well, the newer albums, the OGs, perfect. But yeah, very, very happy to have Mahamic Destruction by Immortal Sin. Next one, another reissue, the third album from Annihilator. I picked up both the other two on Music on Vinyl. Stoked to have this. Picked this up last year, had it for quite some time. Also on Roadrunner. Features one of my favourite songs from the band, period, and that is Phoenix Rising. More of a ballad, but yeah, song from my youth that I absolutely loved back then. This came out on a really cool, it's like almost transparent blue. Doesn't look transparent in the video, but I can see through it anyway. But yeah, I think they're going to be reissuing some of the others as well. But yet, number 5, Phoenix Rising, absolute belter of a song. Set the World on Fire is great as well. Bats in the Belfry is actually the first song I ever heard from this album. Originally came out in 1993. I will say that I think they're probably just blowing that up off the CD because it doesn't look all that clear, but very, very happy to have it. And then we have a little insert card with lyrics, and of course you have the mighty Jeff Waters on guitar, the mainstay and the man behind Annihilator. But yeah, as soon as I saw this come out, I jumped on it. Didn't pre-order it because I didn't know it was coming out. But because I had the other two, definitely I had to jump on this one. Favourite album though is the second album, Never Neverland, followed by Alice in Hell. Then Set the World on Fire, but this features my favourite song. Yeah. Oops, let me put the vinyl back in there. I'll do that later. And we have a couple more. Next one, a band I discovered from this album back in 1991. That is Arise by Sepultura. Now, what I will say, the first song I ever heard, I actually saw a video clip for Dead Embryonic Cells and I was into my thrash back then, but I had never heard anything as heavy vocally wise until I heard this. And I actually thought at first and classed them as more death metal. And I never put them in the thrash category at all until I started listening to a lot heavier music. Then I thought, no, that's actually not that heavy. But yeah, brutal album, and very, very happy to have this. I had it on cassette back in the day, then I bought it on CD, and now I have it on vinyl. Unfortunately, my cassette version is long gone. Came across this, wasn't cheap, it's a reissue of course, but yeah, iconic cover art there. The band there, of course, you still had Max and Igor in the band, the classic lineup. Another album on Roadrunner. This is a gatefold. You have the lyrics and so forth. Don't think there was anything else inside it that I recall, no, but double vinyl, just on your black wax and the Roadrunner label. But as I said back then, although I loved it, I thought that the vocals was the heaviest vocals I'd ever heard. Before that, heaviest vocals I would have heard would have been probably Slayer. But yeah, this and Beneath the Remains will always be my favourite. But this is my favourite, followed by Chaos AD after Beneath the Remains. Roots wasn't for me really, and then I lost touch with the band completely after Max and Igor left. But this is an absolutely superb album. As I said, Dead Embryonic Cells was the first song I heard and is my favourite song off this album. Arise, another great track. Desperate Cry, Under Siege, Orgasmatron, which is the pretty sure that's a Motorhead cover. But yeah, love this album and very, very happy to finally own a copy on vinyl. Still need to track down a copy of Beneath the Remains on vinyl, but yep, that'll come one day. And then last of all, we have one of the German Teutonic 4. We have Tankard, a girl called Cerveza. Picked this up dirt cheap. Another band that I was familiar with back in the day, but you just couldn't get this stuff over here at all. The only band out of the big four you could actually get in New Zealand back then was Creator. So they are my favourite of the big four because I've known them for so long. It wasn't until much later that I actually heard Tankard for the very first time. Obviously, a lot of funny lyrics to do with beer with this band, especially on this album. This one came out on a Nuclear Blast, 2012, so it's more of a recent album. The music's just finished, but it doesn't matter. We have lyrics and some band shots. I've actually only listened to this album once, so I can't give you a proper rundown on it, but really enjoyed it. Yeah, really enjoyed it, but I couldn't even tell you what my favourite song would be right now. But yeah, very, very happy to have this is my first Tankard on vinyl. I have a couple on CD, but that's it. Double vinyl set, just on your standard black wax with your custom Tankard labels. So yeah, I slowly will pick up Tankard. I really would love to own the Tankard box set, but I actually haven't managed to find a copy in New Zealand, and to get it overseas is expensive enough as it is, but when you take into account the exchange rate and the postage, it's although worth it because it costs more to pick up the albums individually. Just haven't got that kind of money laying around at the moment anyway. But if I find it cheap on Amazon one day, I might grab it. Put that away in a minute. So yeah, that's my little update for this weekend. I hope you enjoyed that. All thrash. Next update's probably going to be all over the place. There'll probably be quite a bit of female-fronted metal in there because I have a fair few sitting over there, and CDs, of course. So until then, I will see you guys very, very soon and talk to you in the comments. Bye for now.